The frozen pizza in your freezer probably isn't real pizza. I looked into 10 of Canada's most trusted frozen pizza brands, and 7 of them are quietly cutting corners you'd never guess from the box. We're counting down from concerning to genuinely surprising, ending with 3 that held up. The worst one is almost certainly in your freezer right now. Number 7. No Name. No Name has one job: be the cheapest pizza on the shelf, and it does that job well. That's exactly why it opens this list rather than closing it. Buying it isn't a mistake, it's math. Loblaw built the entire brand around stripping away anything that isn't strictly necessary, starting with the plain black and yellow label that refuses to spend money on design. The pizza inside follows the same logic. This is a private label product manufactured to hit a price point first and a flavor profile second. In frozen pizza, that usually means a bargain tier crust engineered for shelf stability rather than texture. Mozzarella, made from processed cheese blends stretched with oils and starches, and pepperoni designed to deliver a familiar flavor at the lowest possible cost. None of this violates any rules. These ingredients and production methods are common throughout the frozen food industry, and brands like No Name aren't hiding them. A quick look at the ingredient panel tells the story. The list is often much longer than many shoppers expect from something as simple as pizza. The real issue isn't deception, it's expectation. After years of eating ultra-budget frozen pizzas, many consumers begin to assume this is what pizza is supposed to taste like. The crust becomes a delivery system for toppings. The cheese becomes a texture rather than a dairy product. The sauce becomes a background ingredient rather than a defining flavor. No Name succeeds at exactly what it was designed to do: deliver the lowest possible cost per pizza. But when every component is optimized for affordability above all else, what you get isn't a great pizza made cheaply. It's a pizza built around the price tag first and everything else second. Number 6, compliments. Compliments is Sobeys' answer to the same problem No Name solves for Loblaw, and the strategy barely changes. Keep costs low, undercut many national brands, and rely on the grocery chain's reputation to inspire confidence. The pizza itself follows a familiar private label formula. The crust is designed for freezer durability and consistency rather than artisan texture. The cheese blend is formulated to melt the same way every time, often with additional ingredients that help maintain appearance and shelf life. The sauce is carefully engineered to remain stable through freezing, transportation, storage, and baking. None of that is unusual. In fact, it's standard practice across much of the frozen food industry. What makes compliments interesting is the way it's presented. Unlike the stark, budget-first appearance of No Name, compliments leans heavily into comfort and family appeal. The packaging suggests a convenient path to a warm, homemade-style meal. The photography is inviting. The branding feels familiar and trustworthy. Yet, once you turn the box over, the reality becomes more apparent. Like many mass-produced frozen pizzas, the ingredient list often reflects the demands of large-scale manufacturing. Stabilizers, modified starches, texture enhancers, and other components designed to help the product survive months in the frozen supply chain while delivering a consistent result. The issue isn't that compliments is uniquely bad, it's that it demonstrates how similar the private label playbook can be across major grocery chains. Different logo, different box, different marketing language. But underneath, the priorities are often remarkably similar: maximize consistency, minimize costs, and create a product that performs reliably in the freezer aisle. Compliments isn't the biggest concern on this list. It's simply another reminder that store-brand frozen pizza is usually engineered around efficiency first and authenticity second. Number 5, great value, Walmart Canada. Great value earns its place on this list for a specific reason. It's often the frozen pizza that budget-conscious shoppers reach for first. Whether it's students trying to stretch a paycheck or families looking to keep grocery costs under control, Walmart's private label is frequently among the cheapest options in the freezer aisle. That affordability is exactly what makes it worth examining more closely. Walmart's enormous purchasing power gives great value access to one of the most efficient supply chains in retail, but that efficiency is largely directed toward reducing production costs. The result is a pizza designed around the lowest cost version of each major ingredient that can still meet consumer expectations. The cheese is selected for consistency and affordability. The meat toppings are formulated to deliver familiar flavors at scale. The crust is engineered to withstand transportation, freezing, storage, and reheating across a massive national distribution network. From a manufacturing perspective, it's impressive. From a food quality perspective, it's a different conversation. Many shoppers assume they're simply getting a discounted version of the same pizza sold under more recognizable brands. In reality, the savings often come from an entirely different formulation strategy. Every ingredient is evaluated through the lens of cost control first, with flavor, texture, and overall eating experience optimized only within those financial limits. That's the distinction that matters. The lower price isn't just a discount applied to a premium product. It's the outcome of countless decisions made throughout the production process to reduce expenses wherever possible. Great value succeeds at delivering an inexpensive frozen pizza. The question is whether shoppers realize they're not buying the same pizza for less money. They're buying a pizza specifically designed to cost less in the first place. Number 4, Delissio. Delissio earns its place on this list for a different reason than the private label brands we've already covered. Its appeal isn't built on being the cheapest option. It's built on trust. For decades, Delissio positioned itself as a step above basic frozen pizza. The brand became known for its signature rising crust, recognizable packaging, and marketing that emphasized a more restaurant-style experience. Many Canadian shoppers came to view it as a premium alternative to bargain freezer aisle options. But brand recognition and food quality aren't necessarily the same thing. Like every major frozen pizza manufacturer, Delissio operates at an enormous scale. Producing millions of pizzas requires ingredients and processes designed for consistency, storage stability, and predictable results. That means dough conditioners, leavening systems, stabilizers, and cheese formulations engineered to perform reliably after months in frozen storage. The famous rising crust is a perfect example. It's a genuine manufacturing achievement, but it's still a manufacturing achievement. The dough is carefully formulated to create the appearance and texture of freshly baked bread after spending weeks or months in a freezer. That outcome depends on specialized ingredients and production techniques that most home bakers would never use. There's nothing deceptive about this. The ingredients are disclosed and the product performs exactly as intended. What makes Delissio noteworthy is the contrast between perception and reality. Many consumers imagine a significant quality gap between Delissio and lower-priced store brands. Yet when you examine the ingredient lists and manufacturing methods, you often find the same broad industrial toolkit being used across the category. The packaging may feel more premium, the crust may be more impressive, but underneath, Delissio remains a highly engineered frozen food product built by the same large-scale food system that supplies much of the freezer aisle. Number 3, Dr. Oetker Ristorante. Dr. Oetker sells its Ristorante line on a very specific idea: Italian authenticity. From the name to the packaging, everything about the product is designed to evoke the image of a European restaurant experience rather than a typical frozen pizza. The branding suggests something closer to a traditional pizzeria than a mass-produced freezer aisle product. But branding and production reality are not always the same thing. Dr. Oetker is a German food company, and Ristorante is ultimately a marketing concept rather than a statement about where the pizza is made or how it's produced. To be fair, the company generally delivers better consistency than many budget-focused store brands. The crust is thinner, the presentation is more refined, and the overall product often feels more premium when compared with lower-priced alternatives. The question is whether that premium image fully matches the ingredients behind it. A closer look at the ingredient panel reveals many of the same categories of components found throughout the frozen pizza industry. Cheese blends are formulated for consistency and performance. Preservatives and stabilizing ingredients remain common. The crust is engineered to survive freezing, transportation, storage, and baking while producing predictable results for millions of customers. None of this is unusual. What makes Ristorante noteworthy is the size of the gap between perception and reality. Consumers often pay significantly more because the product feels European, sophisticated, and restaurant-inspired. Yet much of the underlying manufacturing approach remains firmly rooted in modern industrial food production. That's not deception. It's an example of how powerful branding can be. The packaging tells a story about Italian dining, while the ingredient list tells a story about large scale frozen food manufacturing. And those two stories aren't always identical. Number two, Boston Pizza, frozen retail line. Boston Pizza earns the number two spot because it benefits from something most frozen pizza brands can only dream of: decades of restaurant recognition. For many Canadian shoppers, the logo instantly triggers familiarity. People associate it with family dinners, sports nights, and meals shared in a restaurant setting. That trust is powerful, and it's exactly what makes the frozen retail version so appealing in the grocery aisle. But there's an important distinction. The frozen pizza sold in supermarkets is not the same product being prepared in a Boston Pizza restaurant kitchen. It's a separately manufactured retail product created for grocery distribution, long-term frozen storage, and national retail sales. The restaurant name appears on the box, but the production process is designed around freezer shelves, not dining room service. That matters because much of the product's perceived value comes from the reputation attached to the brand name. When you look beyond the logo, the frozen pizza relies on many of the same industrial food technologies used throughout the category. The crust is formulated for stability and consistency. The cheese is designed to perform predictably after months in frozen storage. The ingredients are selected to withstand transportation, warehousing, and mass distribution on a national scale. None of this is unusual. What makes Boston Pizza notable is how effectively the restaurant association influences consumer perception. The brand's history creates an expectation of restaurant quality food, even though the grocery product is built through an entirely different manufacturing system. There's nothing misleading about that arrangement. It's simply a reminder that a trusted restaurant name and a frozen retail product are not necessarily the same thing. The reputation was built in dining rooms, while the pizza in the freezer aisle was built in a factory, and those are two very different stories. Number one, California Pizza Kitchen, frozen. This is the one that stings the most, because it's the brand many shoppers choose specifically when they want to trade up. California Pizza Kitchen built its reputation around chef-inspired recipes, creative toppings, and a restaurant experience that feels more upscale than the average pizza chain. The frozen line borrows heavily from that identity. The packaging, product names, and premium pricing all suggest you're getting something closer to restaurant food than a typical freezer aisle pizza. And that's exactly why it lands at number one. A higher price tag doesn't eliminate the realities of large-scale frozen food production. Like every product in this category, the pizza must survive manufacturing, transportation, warehousing, freezer storage, and reheating, while delivering a consistent experience to customers across the country. That requires the same broad set of industrial solutions found throughout the frozen pizza industry. The crust is engineered to remain stable after freezing. The cheese is formulated to melt predictably. The sauces and toppings are designed to maintain texture and flavor throughout a lengthy supply chain. These are practical manufacturing necessities, not signs of wrongdoing. The real issue is expectation. California Pizza Kitchen markets itself as an elevated alternative, a product that feels closer to restaurant quality food than to traditional frozen pizza. Yet when you examine the realities of how frozen pizzas are produced, the manufacturing process is often far more similar to other premium and mainstream brands than the marketing suggests. That's what makes this entry stand out. The product itself isn't necessarily the worst pizza in the freezer aisle. The widest gap is between the story being sold and the reality inside the box. In the end, the most premium ingredient may not be the cheese, the sauce, or the toppings. It may be the branding that convinces consumers they're buying something fundamentally different. Best option number three, Cauliflower. Cauliflower approaches frozen pizza from an entirely different angle than most of the brands on this list. Instead of focusing on making the cheapest possible version of a traditional wheat crust pizza, the company builds its product around a cauliflower-based crust combined with ingredients such as rice flour and other supporting components. The goal isn't to imitate conventional frozen pizza at the lowest cost. The goal is to offer an alternative for consumers who want fewer refined ingredients and a different nutritional profile. That difference becomes obvious the moment you take a bite. This is not a classic pizzeria style crust, and cauliflower doesn't really try to pretend otherwise. The texture is denser, less bread like, and noticeably different from traditional pizza dough. Some people enjoy that change immediately. Others need time to adjust because it doesn't deliver the familiar chew and structure of a wheat based crust. What stands out is the ingredient philosophy. Compared with many mainstream frozen pizzas, the ingredient list is generally shorter and easier to read. The product relies less heavily on the extensive collection of stabilizers, fillers, and processing aids commonly found throughout the category. The focus is on delivering a specialty product rather than squeezing every possible cent out of the manufacturing budget. Just as important, cauliflower is transparent about what it is. The company doesn't market the pizza as a traditional restaurant-style experience. It doesn't position itself as a bargain option. The pizzas cost more, and the packaging makes it clear that you're paying for a specific dietary approach rather than a discounted version of conventional pizza. That honesty matters. If you're looking for a lower processed frozen pizza and you're willing to accept a genuinely different texture, cauliflower offers one of the clearest examples of a product that delivers exactly what it promises. Best option number 2, Udi's gluten-free. Udi's built its reputation around solving a challenge that many food companies still struggle with, creating gluten-free products that feel like real food rather than a substitute. Frozen pizza is arguably the toughest test of that mission. Traditional pizza crust gets much of its texture from gluten, the protein that provides elasticity, structure, and chew. Remove it, and manufacturers often compensate with large amounts of starches, gums, and texture-modifying ingredients. The result can be a crust that's gummy, brittle, or simply disappointing. Udi's takes a more deliberate approach. Rather than treating gluten-free as a marketing trend, the company built its brand around serving people who genuinely need or prefer gluten-free foods. Its pizza crust is specifically formulated to recreate a satisfying texture while maintaining standards expected by gluten-sensitive consumers. An important part of that commitment is certification. Udi's products are certified gluten-free through recognized third-party verification programs, providing an additional level of assurance beyond a simple label on the front of the package. That's a meaningful distinction. The pizza isn't trying to compete directly with a fresh wood-fired pie from a restaurant, and the company doesn't market it that way. The objective is different. Udi's is focused on delivering a frozen pizza that works for people who cannot or choose not to eat gluten while still offering an enjoyable eating experience. That focus comes with a higher price. Gluten-free production, ingredient sourcing, and certification requirements add costs that don't exist in conventional pizza manufacturing. Udi's doesn't hide that reality, and shoppers generally know they're paying for a specialized product. If gluten is a genuine concern in your household, Udi's stands out because it was built around solving that problem first. The gluten-free label isn't an afterthought. It's the entire reason the product exists. Best option number 1, Amy's Kitchen. Amy's Kitchen earns the top spot because it approaches frozen pizza from a fundamentally different philosophy than most of the brands in this countdown. While many manufacturers focus primarily on maximizing efficiency, extending shelf life, and reducing production costs, Amy's built its reputation around ingredient quality, organic sourcing, and simpler formulations. Those priorities have remained central to the company's identity for decades. The difference becomes apparent when you examine the ingredient list. The vegetables are recognizable ingredients rather than heavily reformulated components. The cheese is dairy-based rather than a processed cheese substitute designed to stretch costs across larger production runs. The crust relies on organic flour and avoids many of the conditioners and processing aids commonly found throughout the mass-market frozen pizza category. One of the most important distinctions is certification. Amy's products carrying the organic label are certified under established organic standards, which require third-party verification and compliance with specific production requirements. That means the claim isn't simply a marketing slogan on the front of the package. It is subject to independent oversight and auditing. Of course, that approach comes with trade offs. Amy's pizzas are among the most expensive options in the freezer aisle. But unlike many premium priced products that rely heavily on branding to justify the cost, the higher price reflects different sourcing standards, ingredient choices, and manufacturing priorities. The flavor is different as well. Someone expecting the taste profile of a conventional mass market pepperoni pizza may find Amy's less familiar. That's because the product is built from a different set of ingredients and follows a different philosophy from the start. And that's exactly why it ranks number one. Rather than using marketing to create the appearance of difference, Amy's Kitchen is one of the few frozen pizza brands where the ingredient list itself clearly reflects the premium positioning on the box.